All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is, I'll name this segment later. GTG spits that grease, yada, yada, yada. Name still in progress. Speaking of which, at this particular point, some videos got uploaded that says just a thought. That's something that I do for filing purposes. That's how the people I have kind of go through these things, can differentiate the longer form stuff from the shorter form stuff. I'll keep it out there for now and whatnot, because the person who did the uploads just kind of winged it and put it up there, which is fine. I guess maybe it gives it some character. So that may not always be the case with that, but I'll keep it up there for now. Most people probably didn't even notice, so no biggie. No biggie. Okay, so this is part of that new batch of recordings that we're doing as it pertains to what I'm doing with the audio and whatnot. We'll see how it plays out and whatnot. Probably gonna be about 4 of them that's gonna come out of this batch. We'll see what happens. If they don't work, I'll bring someone in to help me fix this. But if we can come up with a reasonable solution, if it seems like it's tolerable to people, then we'll keep moving with it, and I'll keep adjusting as needed. So big ups to everybody and their feedback on that. Now, what are we talking about here today? We are talking about, let's see, Darksydephil, and sat there and exposed his Discord after Review Tech USA. Oh, sorry, he doesn't call himself that anymore, just in case you guys don't know. He calls himself LOLCOW Basement now. Well, that's what the name of the RTU stream channel is called now. It's called LOLCOW Basement. He's trying to basically piggyback or backpack off of the whole LOLCOW universe thing. I'll make a whole nother video on that. In any case, excuse me. DSP criticized Rich for showing his Discord. At the time that I'm recording this, it might have been something like a week ago, maybe, or at least 5 days. DSP ends up doing it the next day because brain trust. In any case, he ends up showing that he is in contact with Craig from Side Scrollers. We knew that. Keemstar, we knew that. Becky from LOLCOW Queens, which is what we're going to talk about. James Chen is in there. Not surprised by that. Arturo's in there. Not surprised by that. Which, speaking of which, there's been some back and forth on who was that person in the FGC that DSP was trying to get into an interview with. Probably a few people. But see, remember, DSP likes to work through people to get to the people that he wants. And he can't get to Max, he can't get to Justin, at least not through Discord, and probably not through Twitter DMs either. So he'll work through another person to do so. I think I've done a video on that already. If not, I will if I haven't done one. But I think honestly, the reason why James Chen is in there is because James Chen has a podcast. He's talked about DSP on it before. DSP's probably trying to work that angle. Arturo is who I'm thinking DSP was trying to reach out to, but Arturo's in a fucking mess all in himself. He's got a bunch of shit going. He's wrapped himself into that infiltration shit. He has the thing with Dominion shit. People say he kind of embarrassed himself trying to play some of these new age guys and got bodied. I don't think that really matters, really. But it's out there. So, I'll put it up there amongst the many reasons. And Arturo floats around some interesting communities. So for him aligning himself with DSP with the whole VTuber drama probably wasn't going to work. I honestly think the person he was trying to reach out to was Arturo. And James Chen, he's probably just using James to try to get him in contact with other people, or trying to use him as a feeler to see who in the FGC he may be able to parlay with. I'll save that for another video. Okay, Becky. Let's talk about Becky. What do you guys know about Becky? You may not know anything about Becky. Becky's been around for a long time. If you follow the Review Tech USA troll community, she's been around for a minute. She kind of falls into the commentary type space, early commentary space. Apparently she used to do, or she still does, not necessarily OnlyFans, but OnlyFans type stuff for if you're willing to pay the price. I don't want to call it back page shit, not necessarily calling her a prostitute, but apparently she used to put pictures of herself out there and people could pay for it or whatever. As of late, she's a fucking menace when it comes to the LOLCOW universe. She basically has Keem wrapped around her finger, plump fingers, by the way, but around her fingers, you know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, big girls need love too. She's not as big as Amber and Chantel, so that helps her. She's a mess, to be honest with you. One could make the argument that she used Jay and Rich's beef against each other, as we're talking about beginning of 2024, to parlay the hosting position for LOLCOW Live. At current, jumping ahead a year, she is getting ready to have another show that's part of the LOLCOW universe, because she is not desperate for money. She is desperate for money because Keem has admitted to giving her cash advances. Tina has said that Keem has given her cash advances. So there's that, or loans, or both. So that's a thing. But she's one of the driving forces in the LOLCOW universe right now. She's, as much as she's liked, she's hated. Truth be told, I honestly think she's just a BBW. That's all she is. That's why Keem puts her out there. She's attractive enough, to be honest with you, and she's attractive enough to be honest with you, and she's just annoying and bitchy and belligerent at times, where she could hold people's attention. Can she be charming at times? I guess, but that's really what the role that she fits. And on top of that, the fact that she sits there and manipulates the other members of the LOLCOW universe the way she does gives her a lot of clout too. Of course, there's some darker aspects of Becky, which is, one, she accused her ex-boyfriend of SA, or sexual assault, and whether it was a false claim or not, nobody really knows, but it's assumed that it was a false claim. She also is the one who outed Mike, or kid behind a camera, as being a pedophile. So she's got that too. And then, ironically enough, she's the one who's fighting for, she was probably one of the people who fought the hardest to keep him on. Keep that in mind of what kind of person she is. Anywho, that's just a small backstory. I can give you guys something far more extensive later on if you want. But at the moment, her and DSP are in DMs with each other, talking on occasion. Is she gonna be the next one to come into the Snort fort? She's gonna push, Cat out, any of that stuff? No, to be honest. Let me not burst your bubble on this shit. It's funny and whatnot. This is just my take. By all means, if you want to run with that narrative, it's funny. It's gonna piss DSP off. Cat's probably watching some of this shit too, so it's probably gonna piss her off. Go for it. Content is content. That's what we're doing. We're milking content out this bitch. We are harvesting content. So do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Ow, snouts for the Snort throne. And you know what I'm saying? The Snorts will flow no matter where it comes from. The Gout will flow, I should say, no matter where it comes from. The reality is that being that Rich ain't sat there and had that fallout with the LOLCOW universe, Becky's farming for content, and DSP is the holy grail, if you will, of spiteful Rich content that she can control. She's not gonna be able to control PPP and Andy. They may be civil with her, but truth be told, DSP is probably the easier target. He's definitely the softer of the targets, I should say. Get him, see if you can get him onto one of her shows, have him rage at fucking Rich. She'll do the same, and they can both have their little back and forth shitting on Rich. It's gonna piss Rich off. It's gonna farm even more content. That's all this really comes down to. The reason why is because, like I said, Becky is fairly attractive for whatever you're into. DSP does not provide the type of money or income that she could ever really want. He is not even an appetizer. He is what they call it, an hors d'oeuvre, basically, which is not an appetizer, something smaller than an appetizer. He's like that. You know what I'm saying? He's a morsel, if you will, compared to some of the men that she could probably actually attract and be willing to take care of her ass. Of course, given how she leaves her apartment and shit, yikes. But then again, that's probably not too far off from what the fucking pig pen looks like, what the Snort fort looks like. So theoretically, she's right in her element. Here's the point. All jokes aside, no, there's no relationship based on that bullshit. She's probably charming fucking DSP out of his piss-stained Zelda fucking jammies for sure. You know what I'm saying? Because Wings is he's definitely gotten Becky in his spank bank, and I'm sure he ain't laid a few of them out over Becky's over Becky, let's just say that. I'm sure he's probably pumped a couple of them out over her. But the reality is it's all about shitting on Rich, flaming on Rich, and getting a reaction out of Rich. Which is, why not? Like, Rich hates Becky. Like he well, I don't know if he hates her, but he dislikes the shit out of her. But then again, if you were in a relationship with a woman for 10 years and you ain't never got in between them cheeks, he can't tell you how soft them thighs are. He can't tell you how soft that ass is. He can't tell you none of that shit, but you were in a relationship with that chick for 10 years? Yikes, bro. But then again, at the same time, you ain't sat there and fathered 3 kids with this one woman who's fighting e-thoughts to try to keep your attention and to try to keep focus on your family, and you weren't even man enough to put a ring on that. So that tells you a lot about Rich. Yeah, that's all this is. This is all content farming. This is all spite and content farming. But because we think in the long term here, let's go ahead and expand upon that. Becky is a very subtle gateway to see if Keem can try to rope Darksydephil in. Let me give you an example in the case of particulars. Do you guys remember Steel Toe Morning Show? You know, that little fucking, that bullshit shit show that was going on at the time back in the day that some detractors had endorsed. And truth be told, they had a pretty smart plan at the time. They didn't really want to get entrenched with the DSP detractor community because they knew they couldn't handle what goes on here. You got to be built a certain type of way. So instead, they were going to see if they could try to cultivate a community who was interested in DSP content within their own community and build upwards. And they would just do it off the back of detractors. Content's content. It is what it is. That's why they didn't really want to fully commit. Well, back in the day, not too long ago, only a few years ago, when DSP was fishing for interviews, most of you may not remember this, but Steel Toe actually put their name in the hat. They were being backed by Rich at that time. I think they were being backed by Keem at the time. And I don't remember if Nick Rekieta had said anything on their behalf. I want to tell you no. But I know they had Rich backing them, and I think they had Keem backing them at the time, which I think was the reason why DSP didn't want to do an interview with Steel Toe, because he didn't want anything to do with anybody who was affiliated with Keem or Rich, if I'm remembering this correctly. But the point is, Aaron, who's the head of that show, he sent his girlfriend slash wife slash that piece of puss that he shares with people, apparently. What was her name? Is it Eric or Erica? I can't remember what homegirl's name is, but he sent her to actually send an email or send a DM or send a message to DSP to negotiate to have him on the show. He had homegirl do that, which makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Try to appeal to a female because DSP is intimidated by men, even though he loves men, especially sweaty, bulky men. Let's not worry about that. But the point being is that he sent homegirl to go ahead and do it on his behalf. She was also his co-host as well as his girlfriend or wife or whatever that situation was. And she was gaining a bit of headweight until negotiations broke down. Becky is working that same angle with Keem, except for she's probably doing this on her own, because just in case you guys don't know, if you don't follow LOLCOW or the LOLCOW universe or so on and so forth, don't blame you, but sadly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna have to bring some of that to you. Becky is going for ownership. Now, I'm not talking about ownership in LOLCOW Queens, because I don't even know if she even gets a piece of that. I think she's just getting paid. And this new show, because she's trying to be like basically the LOLCOW version of Wendy Williams up in this bitch, or Ricky Lake. I guess more Ricky Lake, I guess. Whatever. The point being is that she's trying to get ownership over a show. And I think that's what this new show thing is. She wants ownership over it, which means she has to put money into it. Or she is going to use that as leverage to get a piece of ownership of the LOLCOW network or whatever, or LOLCOW umbrella or whatever the hell you want to call it. That's what Becky's going for. Because as of right now, the only real people who have ownership in this LOLCOW universe is Keem, Boogie, Wings, and that pedo, Mike, or a kid behind the camera. Those are the only 4 people that really have ownership. Everybody else are employees for the most part. Because if the way it was explained to me, and because I'm trying to speak to some people and try to get an idea of what's going on, LOLCOW Queens doesn't actually have ownership in the show, they just get paid. You know, they're employees. And some of these other shows, the lesser shows, if you will, are in the same position. They're all getting paid. So LOLCOW Nerds, LOLCOW Cafe, all that bullshit, they're all employees, essentially. And if Keem was smart and they want to actually get ownership of the show, set an amount that they have to pay and tell them to buy in. That would be the best way to buy into a show. If not, they're all going to end up like Funk Flex, who ain't sat there and been on the radio for 30 years or whatever the fuck it is, and he don't even own the show. Which is crazy to me. How you ain't been on radio that long, you don't even own your own show. You know what I'm saying? Or you don't at least have a piece of it. You didn't buy into the radio station. Whatever, semantics. Point being. So that's what Becky's doing. And if she can get DSP in that way, that gives her a whole lot of leverage. The type of leverage that Rich or no one else could ever have. You know what I'm saying? And given that Rich is now got himself fired from LOLCOW Tech, and they got, what's that guy's name? David. Is it David? The guy who did Twisted Metal in the early God of War games. He was actually now that I think about it, he got called out on some, well, he's been called out on some bullshit, but he got called out on some bullshit back during Gamergate. He did an interview with either Rock Paper Shotgun, Kotaku, or it was another one. I can't remember which one it was now. I apologize. But he did an interview with them, and the female reporter took his ass completely out of context. And he ended up confronting the editor-in-chief, and he was like, hey, I've always respected journalists. I've always respected what you guys do. That's not journalism. That's bullshit what she pulled. And the fact that you ran with that was even more bullshit. What the fuck is wrong with you? And the guy was trying to defend her and all this shit. It turned into an entire mess. And is it David Jaffe? And he completely cut his studio off from that whole news publisher. He cut them completely off from that shit, which really hurt the publisher. It was a whole mess. It was fascinating. I remember Metker went over that. Now that I think about it, if I could find that, or if I can at least link it, I will. If I can't clip it out and put it in, I'll try to look for it for you.
First time, Steven, is it, that this has happened on Kotaku? I want to play a clip for you. A clip that is available on Ben Kuchera's SoundCloud account. This is a clip from David Jaffe, the creator of God of War and Twisted Metal. Take a listen to this.
I feel terrible about saying it, but nowhere in that sentence do I say, the only way you're going to get sex is underhanded trickery. That is your reporter bringing her own fucking agenda to the table. And you fucking know it.
This is her analysis, and she's going a little further than what you said.
And you know what? That's okay if you're writing about sort of benign shit, but when you're basically accusing someone of something really fucking awful...
The last is that a girl or woman couldn't actually win a co-op match on her own. Again, not literally what you said. This is how she's interpreting what you said.
And
she's not the only person to come up with these things, David. And she's putting this in context. Crude vulgarity that puts men in positions of manipulating women for sexual gain is misogyny.
Dude. Okay, first of all, it's not misogyny. Misogyny is distrust or hatred of women. That is misogyny. That's what I'm saying. You don't get to just fucking make up your definition and say, where? Show me that.
So manipulating women for sexual gain, you don't think might possibly be related to hatred of women? You don't think
what the fuck are you people? Are you a fucking therapist? Yes, any action that you do, you could travel it down a certain psychosis or psychological path to get to some conclusion. Absolutely. But to say that as a statement of fact and to bold it and to say this is misogyny, you out of your fucking mind, dude. That's Bush League and you fucking know it. And it's her second fucking week or her second day and you don't want to fucking call her out because you feel like it's a fucking bad hire. That's the truth.
She's not a bad hire. She's an excellent hire.
Well,
and not every story is going to make people happy. And some stories...
Dude, you know why? Give me a break. If you said Twisted Metal is shit, it's not relevant, it doesn't play well, that won't make me happy, but it's your opinion. You have a right. To not only call someone something awful like a misogynist or to imply that they're a misogynist very clearly, but to get the definition of misogyny wrong, and then on top of it to basically get your facts wrong. Where in there did I say the only way to get sex from a woman is to be underhanded and manipulate her? Where did I say that? Never.
She's talking about the tone of the interview and what you're saying in the act of promoting a game. Where do you want this to go, David?
I don't want to go anywhere. I want to go. I'm respecting you because you keep reading shit. I'm happy to be done. Trust me, I'll be done with you. I'll be done with your site. I mean, it's bullshit, dude. It's bullshit. It's Bush League. It's bullshit, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You're a fucking real journalist. I've always respected journalists. That's bullshit. You know, fuck Gawker, man. Fuck you guys. We're done. We're done. Don't fucking write about what the fuck you want, but we're done.
Okay, David.
Now, the article that David Jaffe is referring to was one that appeared on Kotaku on February 7th, 2012, and was written by Kate Cox. I want to read some of this to you. Most trouble doesn't actually come from villains, and it doesn't come from people who actively stand around shouting, "I hate women." It comes from the thoughtlessness. By framing his statement as, let her win and she'll give you a blowjob, Jaffe said a few things he may or may not have meant to. The first is that only straight men could possibly develop an independent interest in playing his game. The second is that the best way for a man to get what he wants is to come up with some underhanded trickery to apply. Crude vulgarity that puts men in the position of manipulating women for sexual gain is misogyny. Why is it that it seems time and time again, when it is a male developer on your website, Steven, you have no problem allowing people to post editorial pieces and read more into it than may be there. Yet when a female developer openly admits through her own definition that she has committed the act of rape, you don't post anything about it. Because there's nothing more to this, is there? Hey, Nathan Grayson's a great guy, and Zoe Quinn's a great gal, and Kotaku doesn't need to talk about this. John Walker, you're gonna sit and lecture me on fucking ethics after you ran the Temkin piece, but for some reason you're not gonna talk about Zoe Quinn? So protect their identity when they're a woman, and throw them under a fucking bus when they're a man. Are you people for real? Steven, did you get your master's in journalism from the fucking University of the Twilight Zone? Because this is crazy town you're living in. So I just want to go over the standards. What are your standards exactly, Steven? Or John Walker, or any of the people at any of these video gaming websites? What the fuck do you adhere to? What are your ethics? Apparently to you people, having sex with writers is okay. That doesn't create a conflict of interest. As if somebody at fucking CNN or the Washington Post could cover politics, let's say, and have sex with a candidate. But oh, no, it's okay because after they wrote an article praising the product or the candidate, they started having the sex. So that's okay, even though it's a little weird, right? Because, that article came out on 3/31, but they didn't start having sex till 4/1. Because that day difference, that's a big deciding fucking factor.
But if it's the same guy, I'm pretty confident that's who this is, and that's who's over there with Rich. He's over there with Jay, and he replaced Rich. And truth be told, I don't know if he's the LOLCOW everybody says he is, but as he's gotten older, he's gotten far more eccentric. So he'll fit right in. I think. And truth be told, Rich should just go ahead and beg for his job back so he can get up there and eat off of David's contacts and shit, and then they could further expand. But Rich is Rich. He's always going to be in his own lane and shit. I don't know how Duty put up with his ass for as long as he did. Supposedly him and Duty aren't cool no more. Whatever. I saw a clip being floated around of Rich begging Duty to, can they show up on this one show together, and they don't have to be cool or whatever, but they try to dunk on DSP together and shit. It's not pretty pathetic. So it is what it is on that. I'll dig into that further later if I care enough to do it. But that's what this situation is. Becky's is getting leverage, and she's gonna get that leverage off the same person that she ended up getting into contact with Keem with in the first place, Rich. Rich, ladies and gentlemen, is a stepping stone, just like DSP is, just like Boogie and Wings are, just like LTG is. And you're seeing it being done in a very practical, pragmatic sort of way. And if she can pull DSP in on just one show, 2 hours, not even 2 hours, I think those shows are like 90 minutes. Their streams over there are like 90 minutes. Let's say it's 90 minutes to 2 hours. If she can have him on there and it's a decent show and he's comfortable enough to probably come back, she can go to Keem and say, look at what I've done. I've caught the fucking limp dick that none of y'all could. So how much is that worth to keep him over here? And then it all basically formulates, it all branches out from there in some way, shape, or form. Now that's just one aspect of it, but that's essentially how it could work. Now Keem has to be very hands-off about this shit. He has to basically trust that Becky can use all of her charms and everything else to make this work. But then again, and Becky's not supposedly short-minded, she's a Harvard graduate. Just that doesn't really mean anything. You could go to an Ivy League school. You getting into an Ivy League school means that you're intelligent. It doesn't necessarily mean you're smart. But if she can get DSP to the dance, that's one thing. Can she keep his ass there is the other. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, as a BBW, you know what I'm saying? She's attractive enough and she's charming and whatnot, because all men love attention, that she may be able to keep him there, at least temporarily. Or at least she can have enough vitriol to dunk on Rich in a way that he's comfortable with. And she can draw more out of him. That's what I think this real situation is. And if it pans out, it pans out. If it don't, it don't. But if you're Keem, this is the closest he might get to actually bringing DSP close to the LOLCOW universe, his LOLCOW universe, I should say. Something to think about, but that's my perspective on it at the moment. I might do a follow-up to this. We'll see how it all plays out. And I may do a breakdown on Becky and Rich's situation and what Becky and how and why Becky's doing what she's doing to Rich, and how she'll benefit immensely if she does it right, if she does it well, I should say. But that's my thoughts on it. I don't think it's so much of a relationship type thing. Do I think she's flirting with DSP in there? Yeah. But DSP can't tell because he's emotionally as well as socially inept. So whatever hints she's throwing at him, to lower his guard, he's not going to realize it, to be honest. But Becky is persistent. I'll give her that. She's lazy as fuck, but she's persistent too, in her own ways. So, you know what I'm saying? If she can get him to respond to one message, then they'll keep going. And if I had to guess, Becky reached out to DSP, not the other way around. How she did that? She did it through Jay, or she did it through Keem. Because both, remember, Jay was in contact with DSP too. He probably still is. Because remember, DSP wanted to have an interview with Jay on the Bottom Bitch podcast to dunk on Rich. And that, excuse me, that didn't happen. Jay was continuing to show loyalty at that time. Why? I don't know. So she had a couple of different avenues to get a hold of DSP. And despite DSP not wanting to be under Rich's thumb and whatnot, under his beard, I should say, you know, bringing a female in, going on to her show, which apparently she's been pushing hard for a while. And she has a bit of leverage because LOLCOW Queens is good. I don't think it's good because of her. I think it's good because of Tina. But because she is the host of that show, it gives her a lot of advantages. I think that's what's going on with this. I think we're talking about long game situation here. Because even if she can't hold DSP for more than an episode or two, doesn't really matter because it's further than what Keem got. Or anybody else, to be honest with you, associated with LOLCOW was able to do. That gives her leverage. And the more leverage she can get on Keem, the more leverage she can get into buying into the LOLCOW universe and getting some real money, because that's where the real money comes from, ladies and gentlemen, ownership. If she can buy into LOLCOW, into the network, and then have a show that's hers, those are two very, very persistent and persistent and what's the other term for it? What's another term for it, I should say? Persuasive and appealing. I wanted to use something with a P, but we'll use another one. Appealing traits or attributes that she can use for something else later. Keemstar and LOLCOW universe is not Becky's endgame. You know what I mean? If Becky can get a foothold with LOLCOW, use them as a stepping stone and get into the beauty community, get into the tea and drama community, that's what she's looking for. She wants to come across like, you know, she wants to cross between Wendy Williams and whoever else that's a bit more well-liked and wants to play both sides so she can keep her options open. Becky's always been that way. So that's what my thoughts are on that, and that's what I think they're shooting for. We'll see if that actually happens. In any case, thank you guys very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. I'll catch you guys for the next one of these, hopefully sooner than later. This has been Just a Thought. This has been I'll name this segment later, Spit That Grease, whatever. We're still working on it. And I'll catch you guys for the next one. Catch you on the flip, people. Later. Later. Oh, Becky's such a man eater. Oh, gosh.